Long time no talk.
How you been, buddy?
Been good. Not much has happened since yesterday.
Really?
I mean, it was 7 degrees here this morning. 7.
I don't think it was much warmer here. I don't know. We are in Nashville.
Oh, come on. Yeah, I mean, it's probably 30. Everything's over-dramatized in Nashville anyway, so it's probably like 50. And the news reported it as like 32, so everybody thought it was and went outside with their winter coats.
Come on now. It's 36 here right now.
Oh, that's not bad.
Not bad at all.
No, you sound a little bit better than yesterday, though. You on the mend?
Yeah, I sound better, but I feel worse.
Uh-oh.
No, I'm kidding. I feel about the same. Yeah, I did go running yesterday, and it felt great. And then, you know how that goes. I think I'm on the edge. You can't push that too hard, even though it feels awesome. Yeah,
keep it easy. Don't do anything too high intensity. I kind of have a general standing rule with my athletes: is if you're feeling sick and it's above the chin, like just a kind of a head cold, then we kind of press on. But if it goes down into the chest, then anything below the chin, then we kind of take it day to day and just more so cut back on the intensity and of the sessions and not so much the volume, but you don't want to really compromise the immune system.
Yeah, which is the perfect segue into the topic we have chosen today, which is balance. And I could use this lesson just as well as everybody could right now. We wanted to keep it back. That's sort of why we started this in the first place, was we wanted to, kind of do a well-rounded look at training and life and, emotional, physical, spiritual kind of thing. So, have you been thinking about that lately? How are you living a balanced lifestyle right now, with a young...
Taking a back seat is probably as far as like where, triathlon ranks in my hierarchy of daily, requirements and responsibilities. It's pretty much, it couldn't be any farther like towards the bottom, which is very much the opposite of how it was probably even like, honestly, just even like a little over a year ago, 2 years ago. It was, making sure I was, being a good fiance and working a little bit and then train a lot. And now it's, a newborn 4-month-old at the house, wife, full-time busy, job, coaching on the side still, and podcast, and then training. And so it's definitely taken not so much a backseat, but I think it's kind of been reallocated to a more appropriate bucket when it comes to what is actually important to me versus what I always kind of thought was important to me when it came to why I participated in the sport.
Yeah, it's one of those weird, elephant in the room kind of things, because ever since I started training, it's been an amazing thing, and it's helped me out on so many levels, but I can't, there's not many days that go by when I'm like, all right, I got it all, and I'm like, oh, damn, I got to work out still, or, that kind of thing. It's a pretty big monster looming over everything, and I think what I do terribly is leave it hanging all the time. And I'm not a morning workout guy, that, and I've desperately tried to get that going, because I do think that that's probably a major key to balancing out Ironman training, is to get at least one workout right away.
Oh yeah, you got to get, if not all of them.
Yeah.
I read when I found out that we were pregnant, or Allie was pregnant with Hayden, and we were expecting. I researched a couple articles and read one that was kind of generally addressed the topic of like parenthood, and it said, in a way, starting a family can actually improve your training if you prioritize it correctly. Because if you don't get it out of the way early or done during specific times, then it's not going to happen. And so when you allocate it to a certain time, that if you don't get to it, let's say it's from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m., then you're never going to get to it. It's gone. There are no second chances.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes the raises the level of urgency, and also can make your effort and your training and your workouts a little more purposeful, and precise, which can definitely obviously help, in so many areas when it comes to training.
Well, it's something I always have known, and it's one of those things that people can't explain really, but like that morning workout, like that Lionel Sanders article the other day when he said he was struggling at races and with his swim, and then recently, I can't remember when that article was posted, but he figured out that getting up and swimming right away in the morning was an amazing change in his whole philosophy, because once he said the swimming was out of the way, and it had a lot more to do with things like getting feel for the water and not reversing the bike swim. It's important to get used to early morning swimming, but what he mentioned was that he was amazed at how much time that was available after he started getting up earlier and getting that workout out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it also has to just do with flat out ego. I can use myself as an example in some way too, but for a guy like him, he loves to, and I read the same blog post, and what I took from it was he was so much focused on his bike and his bike numbers that he knew good and well if you swam before that, then you were going to be carrying some extra fatigue, especially when you're not as strong of a swimmer as he is. And you're going to be carrying extra fatigue, and you're not going to see those numbers. And that just kind of takes its toll. Like, maybe I'm not this, strong. Maybe I'm not this capable to push these numbers, in which, obviously, in my opinion, kind of resembled itself in the race, in his racing. Is you can't, swimming, you need to address your weakest when you are your strongest, especially when it comes to swimming that's so technical, and you have to be able to hold form for so long that there's no wonder he was swimming like garbage for such a long period of time, because he would do these insane, bike and run workouts and then try to go swim. And your body is absolutely trashed, and you're taking and beating up your body for hours and hours and hours, and then you put in the pool and you expect it to function properly and be able to hold form to where you can feel the water, and you just can't.
I don't want to go off on that, but that was a major part of was feeling the water. And I like the way I look at it is like for me, if I just would get in the pool in the mornings, get in that habit and get that feel for the water, and I don't have to do it, especially now, any kind of crushing swim workouts, but just to get it going. To me, I think that would be a huge catapult towards balancing everything else out. And for me, it starts at night, and I'm just terrible at this lately. I mean, I get in these cycles where I listen to podcasts. The next thing you know, I'm up until 2 a.m, and I'll write a blog post or do something stupid like that, and then the next thing you know, my whole idea of swimming, even at 8 o'clock or 7 or 8 o'clock, is just shot. So I don't know. It's something I got to deal with. But
I mean, the longer you put it off, the more excuses you'll find to do it another day or at another time.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reality of everything. Whether it's professionally, personally, athletically, hobby. It's like if I can convince myself I'll do it later, then why not do it later? And then you get nothing done. When you could do and probably squeeze in 2 focused training sessions before you even think about pushing off the final one.
Yeah. It's a little bit like going back to school for me. It was always hard to get up and start getting in that routine, and I was always tired for like the first week, but you get used to it. And it's the same type of deal. But of course, I was sort of fired up to do that this week, and then I got sick, and then it's like, well, this probably isn't the right week, to start wearing myself down even more. So I've just been trying to level that out. But anyway, it sounds like you've got a new pattern with sleeping over there for the last, 3 days now? 4 days?
Yeah, man, I have kept it pretty strong here. Well, not I have, Hayden has. Starting Tuesday night. We got Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night. solid. So I'm hoping we can carry that into the weekend, and it has definitely helped my training, at least from a consistent perspective this week. So I'm hoping we can carry that forward and keep a good balance. But definitely sleep has been hard to come by the last few weeks, and so this has been a welcome change. So got out and did a little run this afternoon. Freezing cold, but there's something refreshing about running in the cold, I think.
Oh, I love it.
I used to hate it more than anything, but it definitely kind of rejuvenates me. I think you got to be careful just to do it so much, especially if you're not getting a lot of sleep and you're kind of immunocompromised in certain situations, and but it feels good. And like I said earlier, we got a little snow this week, so it's a good time of year. It's a great time of year to run. It's so much better than running in the 110, 120 degree heat. Sometimes it feels like here in Kansas. So it's definitely a welcomed climate change for here.
Yeah. So, are you on a schedule then for working out, or are you just kind of trying to fit it in right now?
I am. I'll give myself a week outline, and then of what the ideal week would look like. But obviously, that rarely ever lines up. It did not line up this week. But the biggest thing for me is right now is not necessarily the positioning of each workout. It's the completion of each workout. And so I had some things come up with work, and then also I just no sleep on Monday night that I was just shelled on Tuesday. That instead of having my indoor trainer sessions kind of spread out throughout the week, I've done 3 days in a row, and I'll do 4 tomorrow. But my goal for the week was 4 sessions, and I'll get 4 sessions. My goal for the week was 4 to 5 run sessions, and I'm at 4 right now, with the 5th going for Sunday morning as that's the hope.
So you're telling me that you kind of like schedule, like you just said, 4 to 5 runs, 5 bikes or whatever, and you give yourself a week to fit them in?
Right now, yep, that's exactly what I'm doing. It's not as daunting. I don't feel as much pressure to get it in that day. And if I've got 40 minutes and that's all I've got for the day, then I can pick a workout or a run that I can shove in there and get done. So like I said, I set my week up to where I position myself for the ideal week if I can keep it. If not, then I'm perfectly comfortable moving things around, especially right now during base training when I'm not crushing myself in workouts. I'm just kind of doing all easy aerobic stuff, no matter what it is. There's really no problem with moving things around, and because I'm not going to really suffer a lot the next day, because it's still going to be relatively, I'm going to be generally carrying a very low level of fatigue day to day, just from the general layout of the workouts, that they're not going to be as intense and high in volume or intensity.
So you're perpetually recovered in theory,
as discussed previously.
Yes.
Yep.
Which is a beautiful thing. I mean, we had talked about training plans based on these sorts of things, because what you're saying is that if there's not as immense pressure on a certain workout, a lot of times for me it's just getting out there, well, that's the oldest adage in the book, but getting the shoes on or getting on your bike or whatever it is, that first step. A lot of times you don't feel up for a intense workout, so if you decide to just say, all right, well, I'm going to go down and swim for an easy 1,000 meters or something, and the next thing you know, you start feeling good about 700 in, you're like, well, I can get this workout now. So I think that plays into balance, in the sense that we have to listen to what our body's saying and not try to overpower it all the time, but just let it come.
Yeah, I mean, there's really no sense in forcing things. There's just not. We put enough pressure on ourselves anyway. Schedule can easily be moved. It can easily be adjusted. Especially right now. Like I said earlier, it's just there's no point in saying, oh, we can't move it. I move right now. An athlete needs to move something, we move it, or we just scratch it. It's not the time of the year to stress about having to miss one day. If you've got to miss 6 days in a row, that's not necessarily going to be ideal. But, if you tend to cram things and try to go for the old makeup session where you missed all of Wednesday, and, I get that a lot. Coach, I can't do today's swim. Can I make it up tomorrow? No. Do tomorrow. Because you'll just continue to put yourself behind the 8 ball, and you just continue to raise your expectations, rarely ever meeting them. And this isn't the time of year to have that feeling or that fear. Not that you should have it during the main part of the season anyway, but definitely not right now.
Yeah.
And right now it should just be accumulation, and just continuously building and building and building slowly, and not just trying to make big jumps. Miss 2 days in a row and you try to cram 3 workouts in a day. Well, that's just a disaster waiting to happen. So it right now has to be by choice. It has to be by, do you want to do it? Does it feel good to do it? Can I keep doing it? Those are 3 questions you should continually ask yourself, especially this time of the year. Not, God, I feel like I have to go do this.
Right.
You should be chomping at the bit because you want to go do it. I won't divulge her name because I know she'll listen to this, but I had an athlete who said she was going to take her trainer to the cabin this weekend in the mountains when she was spending some family time. And I said, no. I said, there's no reason to take your trainer. I was like, enjoy your family. This isn't the time of year to be, taking away time from, family and, and stuff that matters like that. And although I did, back that up with, unless you feel like you need to take it because you're going to need some space. And ultimately that was the answer. She needs a little bit of space from the old in-laws. But, so in that case, it's being used for good and not used as something like I feel like I have to as like a chore, which I think is pretty common with triathletes and their type A personality. This is somewhat funny and somewhat sadistic, I think. But, in Training Peaks, if you're familiar with it, and those who are listening, if you have a workout scheduled and you do it, it's green. If you go 10 to 15% under or over, it turns yellow. And obviously, if you skip it or complete less than 50%, it's red. And I've got some athletes that it honestly drives them bonkers if something comes up red. It's like they are afraid to look at it. And I've got one athlete who, might go months without seeing anything other than just straight green. Never misses a workout, never does anything, but occasionally I'll go in and make one entire week red and see if she catches it. I think I should probably quit doing this. It's going to give her a severe panic attack one day and we'll never be able to recover. But, it's definitely a personality type that people have, but it's not that time of year. It's the time of year to enjoy it, address some weaknesses and get better, but it's not the time of year to sacrifice.
No, I look at the holiday thing is kind of like a time of year when you're starting to get excited again about the next season, but to think about it in terms of really being in season and trying to go home for a week or whatever and be an Ironman, that's kind of ridiculous in a lot of ways. I think it's probably good to get out and do a 30-40 minute run or something and see your hometown or where you grew up or the new place you're visiting or whatever, things like that, just to get the blood flowing, because I think that's one of the biggest issues is that we go through a week of debauchery and overeating and whatever, and you lose so much ground. But if you kind of just keep it level and keep it balanced going through there somehow with little workouts or little runs or nothing hard, but just to keep it going.
Yeah. It's just and I think you'll generally people will tend to gravitate towards one of the three in the off season, whether they're trying to work on it or not. So you'll just get in a groove, which is nice because it kind of lets the athlete lead the way. I'll get the text. It's like, oh, I'm loving running right now. I'm loving cycling right now. Man, my swim is coming a long way. And that's a great way, in my opinion, as a coach, to let the athlete kind of self-select without them really knowing what the next focus should be.
Yeah.
So if I've got somebody who's just like getting really, really confident and loving swimming for like the first time, then you can fully expect for me to throw in a huge swim block. Because if they're chomping at the bit and they're going to love it, then that's when I want to kind of up the ante just a little bit and take advantage of their approach and their, and their overall kind of personality towards that specific sport. And so I'll use their feelings about that, let's say it's swimming, like I said, and I'll just kind of capitalize on it at that moment. If it's running, let's up a little bit of the run mileage. Not too much so they get burnt out and start to hate it again, but kind of let and that's what's so much of coaching is listening, and letting the athlete kind of show you the way sometimes, than always leading them.
Yeah, because it can be daunting if you go a whole year trying to keep balance with all three sports. It's kind of tough, I think. At least for me, a year I was like, damn it, that's sliding away. But hopefully right now you gravitate a little bit towards maybe your worst discipline. Maybe.
Yeah, that's the time of year to do it. This is the time of year to do it. Slow it down, focus on it, keep everything close to baseline as you can, and then just get to work. You don't have to show anybody anything. You don't have to get on the road and be afraid you're going to get dropped. This is the best time of year just to get quiet and to put your nose down and just work hard. There's not a bunch of races to go out where you have to show up and afraid you're going to get beat. There's no group rides and lots of group runs where you go out and afraid you're going to get dropped or left. Not a lot of people are swimming right now. And what you want to do is you just kind of want to creep up just a little bit, and come April and May, you just kind of quietly appear carrying all this hard work you've done over the most difficult part of the season to do it, because of just the weather, and their races is so far away, so there's not that sense of urgency. But that's the best feeling, is just to quietly do your work and quietly arrive. That's why they always say that about there was an overnight success or breakthrough performer, and like they've been working hard their entire life. It just finally came to a head one day. They haven't been treating themselves like an overnight success. There's no such thing. Success isn't random; it's earned, and this is the perfect time of year to earn it.
Yeah, it really is, and it just works that way. I think there's such, we talk about frequency before, and like within that frequency pattern, say my swimming is up and down. It's my weakest sport. I love it, but whenever I get into a swim groove, when I swim, 6 days a week or something like that, even if it's not intense, I just get better. And it's like it's not crazy workouts. It's just consistency, and it's balance within the sport in a way, even though it's out of balance. But I'm not overdoing it. I'm just accepting it and loving it, in that balance. So I think that you're right, man. It's like you just got to keep going after it and not worry about anything else except just doing it.
Yeah, that's again, it's not going for broke, and it's not doing the stuff that is gonna get you a lot of likes or whatever people do now on Facebook, and it's not gonna be the glamorous stuff. I compare a lot of triathlon training to this quote that Chris Evert, who was a female professional tennis player, she said, "You will win 90% of the points you play if all you do is hit the ball back to the center of the court.
Huh.
You don't go for the lines. You don't go for the winners. You just get the ball back and you be consistent. And in terms of tennis, the other person will beat themselves because they always try to go for the winner. They always try to go for the home run shot. They try to end the rally early, much earlier than it should have been. They try to come to the net and put the ball away when they didn't make a good approach shot. In terms of triathlon and the way you structure training volume is if you just generally take not necessarily the safest route, but the most proven route that is safe, and ultimately it is the safest route, which is just putting the ball into the middle of the court. And that's base training, in my opinion. And just being consistent and frequent and, doing it a little bit slower and steadier than you probably like. But in the long term, you're going to end up winning more than you're going to end up losing. And you'll be able to do it for longer. And so I really like that analogy between the two as far as what makes people successful. And I think you see it a lot too when you see chronic racers and triathletes who underperform at races but PR during training. They're always PRing in training. I PR'd my 1 mile repeat. I PR'd in this. I PR'd that. And then it comes to the race, and they just can't put it together.
Right.
Whereas you take a lot of the athletes in the upper end, you just look back, and all you see is frequency. It's just frequent runs, frequent rides, quality work, nothing fancy, no new, training plan or training methodology with something that somebody made up to sell. It's the same thing, and it's always been the same thing. And so that's this time of year. If you're listening, don't go for the winner. Don't go for the line. Don't try to come in that early. Just keep getting the ball back into the middle of the court.
Yeah, I mean the most impactful work is done in isolation a lot of times. It just, I played a lot of sports in my day, and I never realized, how important repetition was and frequency and things like that. I just sort of showed up, and that kind of has obviously translated into my triathlon a little bit. But at my peak, and this always sounds crazy when I talk about it, but I used to play real competitive softball, and we would travel around the Midwest and play in really talented tournaments. I mean, everyone on my team was either an ex-college player or a minor league baseball player. So we played in really high-level situations, and it was intense. And I used to struggle mightily with my backhand at shortstop. So what I would do during the week, I mean, this is just, it's not bar league, but it's basically softball. And I would go on my off days, and we would only play once a week and then travel on the weekend, so we didn't really practice or anything like that. But I would go over to the local school for hours a week and just throw this bouncy softball and then backhand it and throw it. And I just started showing up, and nobody saw that. But once I got onto the field, it just showed up, And it was just repetition, and it was frequency. And I think that just holds true to the nth degree in triathlon as well. It's that 6 mile run 6 days in a row or whatever, that 1,500 meter swim 6 days in a row. You just get that groove, and then it gets out of your head. You just don't even think about it anymore, and you're more focused on letting your body do what it knows how to do.
Yeah, I mean, you can appreciate this as a big baseball fan. It's kind of as getting your team to buy in to playing small ball.
Yeah.
You're making the calculated hit. You're doing what it takes. You're sacrificing. For some of the hitters, I'm sure not trying to go yard every single time they go to the plate. But we're going to take the percentages. We're going to play small ball, and we're going to just get lots and lots and lots and lots of hits. And that's how we're gonna beat you.
Yeah.
And again, that's the same. You can draw that same parallel back to training.
Yeah, and you're right. It is committing to the team and the principles. And in triathlon, it really means committing to your team and believing and working on things that are going to make you more successful. I mean, how many times have you seen in the playoffs where some guy comes up to bat and it's a obvious bunt situation, and they flash the thing he's never bunted all season,
Exactly.
And then he pops up to the catcher.
Exactly, and they're like, "Oh, it ruins the game." Well, he wasn't prepared.
Yeah,
it's like, I mean, you can't ask him to perform on the biggest stage if he hasn't performed off the stage.
Yeah. So look at your race, look at the places you failed, and work on that now. Work on those things that you struggle with, and be prepared for that later. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a sense of confidence that that only derives from long-term consistency, and that doesn't have to necessarily be a number or a specific goal. It's just, listen, I've been consistent. I've done the work. I've skipped the least amount of workouts in this 16-week span in my entire life. So I've obviously done better. So I feel confident going in that I'm going to do well because I've done well every week. And doing well every week is just doing what's required. And it's doing everything I'm supposed to do and being consistent with it, and not taking 2 or 3 days off and then 2 or 3 days on, and then 2 or 3 days off and 2 or 3 days on. It's not nearly as useful as just straight up consistency.
Oh, trust me, I know that, dude.
I know you do.
I am constantly under fire by myself because, I can only use that so often, though. It's like stepping up to the plate and, and using your, intense ability to focus and hope it goes right when you even haven't practiced it or whatever. I mean, I go into that every race. Every Ironman race I've had, especially with the bike, it's like a crapshoot because I don't put in the consistency with it. So it's time. It's time.
That's what they keep saying. It's time.
Yeah.
It's time to put it all together. Right now the only expectation you should have is just to be consistent. As consistent as you can be.
Yeah. So, any secrets for how to do that? I know it's just a commitment.
Yeah, it's just a commitment. I mean, it's just, do you really want it? Do you really want to make the next leap and do what's required, or do you just want to keep trying a different way, and just totally stiff arm a way that's proven to work? Which is risky for a lot of people because taking that jump is kind of going all in and committing to something that may or may not, come to total fruition depending on how everything turns out on race day.
Oh, you're so right.
And that's a lot of pressure for people. It's like that. It's that fine line of, man, do I really want to? Because then the downfall will be so much greater because you'll have.
It's letting go of your escape net.
Yeah, you can't keep using your own excuse of excuses.
Yeah.
To be like, but excuse not, whatever. Go making them. If you really want to make a difference and do what's required, you just got to get it done and make, small little changes in your life that set yourself up for success. And if you can't be committed to doing those, then you need to kind of reevaluate what your actual goals might be and see if they align, because they might not.
Yeah, man. I'm afraid of balance, maybe, on some level. If you think about it, because it's like, I've just been trying to figure out the shortcut, as we all know, and it's not like I'm trying. I think I used to have it in me where I would say, well, I only rode 75 miles before the Ironman. I thought, I kind of had that as a feather in my cap, but now it's more like I'm just trying. I've been trying to avoid putting in what I know will work in hopes of, like I said, pulling some kind of rabbit out of my ass on race day. And yeah, lessons are tough sometimes.
They are. And we have yet to see that rabbit. So, You might just want to start busting your ass and trying to start pulling a rabbit out of it.
I know it, man. I got that big bet with CeCe pushing me now.
Enjoy. I have no bets with anybody, so.
I know. See how I am. I mean,
I know, man.
It's just setting myself up to go down there and go, well, maybe I haven't, but today I'm going to do it.
Well, I mean, to be fair, the whole bet is my fault anyway, because I kind of threw it out there.
Yeah, you did. I mean, we've been toe-to-toe since the first year. I don't know how this happened, but it's kind of like we're best friends and arch rivals.
Yeah, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer.
I know.
You know? So, I have no bets with anybody, but I do want to go under 4:30. That's my goal. So, all
right. Well, I'm gonna,
once I spoke it out in a podcast land, that's its own kind of bet.
Yeah, you set it up. I'm gonna be on your heels. How about that?
Okay, I can settle for that.
Yeah, it's I don't know. That's a little long shotty for me, but I think with the right balance, and I know CeCe won't listen to this podcast, so I've got that advantage. I have the balance podcast advantage in my corner.
Well, you know how CeCe works. He does everything in silence.
Oh yeah,
and in total anonymity. And so he's probably actually listened to all these multiple times. He just won't leave a review. 'Cause he doesn't want us to know that he's actually listening to him, and probably taking notes. And he'll drop in and be like lean and mean and ready to crush us all. Come chat and be like, oh yeah, I just kind of put this together here in the last a year.
Yeah,
and then we're all gonna suffer. Yeah,
he's probably figured out a way to tap into our live recording of this. He's probably listening now.
He probably is. He'll get an hour and a half trainer ride in before we even get this posted.
Oh, easily. Since it's not going to post till Monday.
Yeah, well, he better at least get one of those in.
Yeah.
So CeCe, if you're listening, quit cheating.
All right, man. Anything else on balance?
Nah.
Lifestyle? No idea no suggestions for how to stay off the cookie plates next week or 2 weeks? Yeah. That's your weakness.
Yeah, dude, it is. Moderation. Moderation in front of people, total gluttony in secrecy. That's kind of how I live.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have one cookie or two out and about, and when you get home, put the kids to bed, have like 4 or 5. Nothing wrong with that.
How insane is that? I go home, my mom, I don't know, she'll have at least 5 huge Tupperware containers full of varieties.
Love it.
That go so deep and diverse that I can't even understand how she makes these things, and they just last. They never run out, and then I always end up taking home one of them. It's like you kind of understand how bears got into their lifestyle of hibernating. It's just, you just pound it out and then sleep for a month or 2. That's kind of what I think I am, really, at the core. It's sort of this bear. You stock up on fat and things you need to survive in your sleep, and then you just come out ready to roar at Chattanooga 70.3 when I'm staring at Corey like a hungry, angry bear out of hibernation.
That's it, man. I can see it coming.
Race morning. Well, although, I mean, not to get off too far. And CeCe's a friend of mine. I think he's going to be a common thread in these podcasts now. That
he probably is.
There a quick story about we raced Chattanooga 2 years ago together, and on race morning I was just my eyes were spinning in my head, and I forgot my timing chip, and I was all over the place. I didn't sleep and was tired, and I just could not move fast enough for him, and he ended up yelling at me to throw your shit in your bag already. Let's go.
Oh, yeah, man. I've already heard about it. I was asking him about hotel reservations. He was like, yeah, I picked this, and so now I'll only have to yell at Mike for 4 blocks instead of like 8.
Come on, let's go.
Yeah, he's holding a little resentment, so.
Oh, man.
I know, man.
It's going to be a great reunion.
It is, man. I'm looking forward to it. I gotta get and keep my balance and go pick up the little man from daycare.
All right. Review us on iTunes, please. Subscribe. Do all that stuff.
Yeah, we need to move to the top 200. We're at 290 right now, so help us bump up.
Yeah, 290 already. We're just scaling the iTunes wall.
We are, slowly but surely, just like base training.
Next podcast, breaking the iTunes ceiling.
Done. I'll start working on it right now.
All right, buddy. I'll catch you later, man.
See you, man.
Bye.